chains that I let bind me. Heal the pain that lives inside me. Set me free.
Well, welcome back to Swordbox and our Devil series. Today we return to the Old Testament book of Ezekiel, where we read the amazing account of God's creation of Lucifer. And in chapter 28, verse 15, we read concerning him, "You were perfect in your ways from the day you were created, till iniquity was found in you." And while God created Lucifer holy and perfect, he did not make him a robot. Lucifer, like us, was obviously given a will, the ability to choose, the ability to obey or disobey God, the ability to think and to reason, and freedom to make decisions. But here was Lucifer with direct access to God, a protector, a cherub on God's holy mountain, unmatched beauty and unmatched wisdom compared with the other angels. But Lucifer's heart, verse 17 says, was lifted up because of his beauty. He became prideful. And you know, it was his choice. Instead of focusing on God, his focus was obviously turned towards himself. The amazing beauty with which God had created him with became his focus, and he became proud. We would call that today becoming full of ourselves. And his wisdom was corrupted. And as we've studied recently, wisdom is knowing and doing the will of God. And this is the wisdom Lucifer had. But pride corrupted his wisdom, and God in verse 16 cast him off of the mountain of God. When in Isaiah 14:13 we see just what Lucifer was up to. "For you have said in your heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God." Verse 14, "I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High God." Lucifer wasn't content with what he had. He wanted the place of God, to be like God. You know, God's all-powerful, all-knowing in all places and all time. He is worthy of all worship and in control of all things. What foolishness to think that one could be equal with or higher than God. Yet that is the result of corrupted wisdom that came from a proud heart, which came from a choice not to submit to honor and love God. To receive and to give 100% pure, perfect love in its fullest meaning and its fullest value, it must be by choice and not forced. If it is forced, it's really not love. So God, who is love, in order to give and to receive genuine love with his creations, gives us the freedom to choose. And 1 Timothy 3:16 also points out Lucifer's fall, and he's using this in regards to qualifications for a bishop in the church. He says, "Bishops are not to be new converts, lest being puffed up with pride, they fall into the same condemnation as the devil." So we see God is protecting church leadership from the dangers of pride. Proverbs 16:18 warns us, "Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall." You know, even so, pride is something that much of our culture flaunts. It seeks after. And it's no wonder, because Satan knows that if he can get a person with a prideful heart, he will certainly draw a wedge between them and God. It's the single most destructive quality, I believe, that leads us to corruption and away from God. And Satan loves when men are prideful and arrogant. He absolutely loves it. Proverbs 16 verse 19 says, "Better to be of a humble spirit with the lowly than divide the spoil with the proud." You know, pride may feel good. It may have some earthly gain, but it will always bite us in the end. 2 Corinthians 12:7 is a verse that not only emphasizes how destructive and to be avoided at all costs pride is, but also allows us to see the spiritual realm. Paul, as you know, was entrusted by God with spreading and teaching God's new covenant, as well as penning much of the New Testament. He says in verse 7, "And lest I be exalted above measure by the abundance of the revelations, a thorn in the flesh was given to me, a messenger of Satan to buffet me or beat me, lest I be exalted above measure." Now, whatever this is, it's not pleasant, and it caused suffering for Paul. But in other words, Paul had been given such revelation or truth by God, Paul was vulnerable to pride, to be puffed up. You know, knowledge puffs up, love edifies. Because he had so much of this knowledge that others didn't have, this messenger of Satan was sent. And who sent this messenger? Well, God sent him. Yes, God. God even uses Satan and his fallen angels for his own purposes. And while Satan may have looked on it, as he did with Job, as something that would turn Paul against God, Paul and God both knew that this was necessary in order to keep Paul humble. And what did Paul post in not in himself as Lucifer did. Verse 9, therefore most gladly I would rather boast in my infirmities. Boy, that sounds strange. That the power of Christ may rest upon me. For when I'm weak, then I'm strong. We want to resist and avoid the pain and suffering. Puff out our proud chest and tell the world, I'm doing fine. I can do this. I'm successful. I'm this. I'm that. That's pride, and God resists that. The very pain that we seek to be rid of may very well be the one thing that God is allowing in our lives to keep us from becoming proud, that keeps us humble and dependent on Him each and every day. Proverbs 18:12 says, before destruction, the heart of a man is haughty, and before honor is humility. Obadiah 1:3, the pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, and that's exactly what pride does. It deceives us. No greater example in all the Bible than Lucifer himself. And just look at the world around us and the mess as a result of one creative being's pride. We will pick up right here tomorrow. There's some more I want to finish on these thoughts, but I don't want the video to run too long. So make sure you come back tomorrow as we pick up our series on devils. God bless you.